I was only 12 when my dad finally took us on that camping trip to the Sedona Desert. It was the first time in years he made time for anything other than work. Ever since Mom passed away 2 years ago, he buried himself in his projects, leaving my older brother, Jake, and me to fend for ourselves. But that weekend, he decided it was time to reconnect, to patch things up, to be a family again. I remember being excited and a little nervous about the trip. The desert was breathtaking. Wide open spaces, red rock formations, and an endless sky filled with stars. It was the perfect place for some father-son bonding. We set up camp near a cluster of rocks that provided some shelter from the wind. Dad even managed to smile a few times as we roasted marshmallows and told ghost stories by the fire. It felt like things were finally getting better. That night, though, everything changed. I woke up to strange noises outside our tent. At first, I thought it was just the wind or maybe some animals. But then I saw shadows darting around, moving too fast and too fluidly to be animals. I shook Jake awake, and he saw them too. We both nudged Dad, who groggily reached for his pistol. He told us to stay quiet as he prepared to unzip the tent. Just as he was about to step outside, we heard a high-pitched screeching noise that made my ears hurt. A bright, blinding light flooded our tent, and for a moment, I thought I was going to be sick. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The light vanished, and all we could see and hear was the calm desert night. The next morning, Dad was furious. All 4 tires of his truck had been removed, and the rims lay next to the vehicle, bent upward like tacos. He was more upset about the truck than what had happened to us the night before. He kept insisting it was some prank or vandalism, refusing to acknowledge the strange events. But Jake and I knew better. We had seen and heard things that couldn't be explained away so easily. With no cell service and no tires, we were stranded. Dad decided to hike to the nearest ranger station to get help, leaving us alone at the campsite. He promised he'd be back before dark, but as the hours passed and the sun began to set, Jake and I grew more anxious. As night fell, the screeching noises returned, this time louder and closer. We ran to the nearest shelter we could find, a small recreational bathroom and shower area. We huddled inside, too scared to make a sound. Peeking through a crack in the door, we saw them, 2 large skinny beings, at least 8 feet tall, with long fingers, claws and piercing yellow eyes. They were ransacking our campsite, searching for us. It was clear this had been their plan all along. We stayed hidden for what felt like hours until finally, we heard Dad's voice. He had returned with a tow truck. We ran to him, shaking and scared, and he took us in his arms. On the drive back to civilization, we told him what we saw. At first, he was skeptical, but then he lifted his shirt to reveal a long, deep scratch mark down his stomach. He didn't explain what happened, but we knew he had encountered something just as terrifying. As we drove away, I looked out the window and saw a graveyard of tires and bent rims scattered throughout the desert. It was a chilling reminder of what we had experienced. To this day, we never spoke of that night again, and we never went camping. But despite the fear and the strange events, our bond grew stronger. Maybe facing the unknown together was what we needed to become a family again.